was once an abundant merchant who had 3 children. Being a man of sense, he spared no cost for their education. His daughters grew to be extremely gorgeous, particularly the youngest, who was called Beauty, a unique name that made her sisters extremely envious of her. Since they were rich, the 2 eldest had a terrific deal of pride. They provided themselves ludicrous airs and would not go to other merchants' daughters, nor keep business with any but individuals of quality. They went out every day to parties, balls, plays, shows, etc., and they made fun of their youngest sibling, since she invested the greatest part of her time in reading excellent books. Suddenly, all as soon as the merchant lost his entire fortune, excepting a little nation home at a fantastic range from town, and informed his kids with tears in his eyes that they need to go there and work for their living. The 2 oldest addressed that they would never ever have to leave the town, for they had a few prominent merchants who they made sure would be thankful to have them, though they had no fortune. However, the good ladies were incorrect, for their fans slighted and forsook them in their poverty. As they were not liked on account of their pride, everyone said, "They do not should have to be pitied, we are grateful to see their pride humbled, let them go and give themselves quality airs in milking the cows and minding their dairy." But, added them, "we are overly concerned for Beauty, she is such a lovely, sweet-tempered animal who speaks so kindly to bad individuals and has such a friendly, gracious nature." The merchant applied himself to farming and Beauty increased at 4 in the early morning when they came to their country home. Prior to the others stirred, she made haste to clean your house and prepare breakfast for the family. In the start she found it difficult, for she had not been used to working as a servant, however in less than 2 months she grew more powerful and healthier than ever. After she had done her work, she read, used the harpsichord, or else sung while she spun yarn. On the contrary, her 2 siblings did not understand how to spend their time. They got up at 10 and did not do anything but saunter about the entire day, regretting the loss of their great clothes and associate. "Do however see our youngest sis," they snickered, one to the other, "how well she's matched to a life of routine labor." The household had lived about a year in the nation's home when the merchant got a letter with an account that a ship he believed had been lost at sea, which held on board lots of bolts of cloth and silks he had bought, had in truth securely got here. The family rejoiced in the turn of their fortune. When the 2 eldest children saw their dad prepared to set out, one begged him to purchase her a new necklace of gems, and the other a thick golden chain, but Beauty asked only for a rose. The excellent man set off on his journey. However, when he came there, oh such problems there were over who effectively owned the ship and the product on board, and after a lot of problems and pains to no function, he returned as bad as previously, particularly after he bought the fine brand new locket and gold chain, he assured to his 2 older daughters. Believing he may come across a rosebush to please the wish of his youngest daughter, he led his horse deep into the woods. As the sun set and the wind began to growl, the papa realized he was hopelessly lost. What is more, with the rain and the snow he knew he may well starve to death with cold or cravings, or be feasted on by the wolves, whom he heard groaning all round him. Then in an instant, browsing a long walk of trees, he saw a light at some range. Going on a little further, he discovered it originated from a place lit with candles from top to bottom. The merchant quickened to the place, however, was shocked at not satisfying anyone in the outer courts. His horse followed him, and seeing a large steady open, went in, and finding both hay and oats, the bad monster, who was famished, was up to eating heartily. The merchant connected him up to the manger and strolled towards your home, where he saw no one. Participating in a big hall, he discovered an excellent fire and a table plentifully set out. As he was wet through with the rain and snow, he drew near the fire to dry himself. "I hope," stated he, "the master of the house, or his servants will excuse the liberty I take, I expect it will not be long prior to a few of them appear." At last, he was so hungry that he might stand it no longer but took a leg of chicken and ate it in 2 mouthfuls, shivering all the while. After this he drank a couple of glasses of red wine. Growing more courageous, he went out of the hall and crossed through a few grand apartments with stunning furnishings, up until he entered a chamber. In the chamber was an exceedingly good bed, and as he was extremely worn out and it was past midnight, he concluded it was best to go and shut the door to sleep. It was then the next morning prior to the merchant waking. As he was going to rise, He was astonished to see a good fit of clothes laid out on the bed that would fit him completely. He stated, "This palace comes from some kind fairy, who has seen and pitied my distress." He then went back to the great hall where he had supped the night previously and found some chocolate prepared made on a little table. "Thank you, good Madam Fairy," he said aloud, "for being so careful as to offer me breakfast. I am very required to you for all your favors." The excellent man drank his chocolate and then went to try to find his horse. However, traveling through an arbor of roses, he remembered Beauty's request to him and collected a branch on which were numerous. Instantly he heard an excellent crash like thunder, and looking around he saw a big monster, 2 tusks in his mouth and fiery red eyes surrounded by bristles and horns coming out of its head and spreading over its back. "Please, sir," said the merchant in worry and fear for his life, "I assured my daughter to bring her home a rose and forgotten it till the last minute, and then I saw your gorgeous garden and thought you would not miss a single rose, or else I would have asked your consent." "Thieving is thieving," stated the beast, "whether it is a diamond or a rose, your life is forfeit." The merchant fell on his knees and asked for his life for the sake of his 3 daughters, who had none but him to support them. "My lord," said he, "I beseech you to forgive me. Undoubtedly I had no objective to anger in gathering a rose for one of my daughters, who preferred me to bring her one." "You state you have daughters," replied the beast. "I will forgive you, on one condition, that a person of them come voluntarily and suffer for you. Swear that if any of your daughters refuses to pass away in your stead, you will return within 3 months and place yourself at my disposal." So, the merchant swore. Taking his rose, he installed his horse and rode house. As quickly as he got into his house, his daughters came hurrying round him, clapping their hands and revealing their happiness in every way. He offered the pendant to his eldest child, the gold chain to his second daughter, and then he provided the rose to his youngest, and as he offered it, he sighed. "Oh, thank you, Dad," they all wept. But the youngest said, "Why did you sigh so deeply when you offered me my rose?" "Later I will tell you," said the merchant. So, for several days they lived gladly together, though the merchant roamed about unfortunate and gloomy, and nothing his daughters might do would cheer him until at last, pushed by his youngest child, he related his fatal adventure. Beauty spoke, "Since the beast will accept one of his daughters," said she, "I will deliver myself as much as all his fury, and I am extremely pleased to believe that my death will conserve my daddy's life and be evidence of my tender love for him." "Beauty, I am charmed with your kind and generous offer," said the merchant, "however I cannot let you do it. I am old and have not long to live, so can will lose just a few years, at the most." "Indeed, Daddy," stated Beauty, "you will not go to the palace without me. You cannot stop me from following you." Beauty insisted on setting out for the palace and making the necessary preparations for herself, and her sis was covertly pleased at the possibility of eliminating her finally. So, the next day the merchant took Beauty behind him on his horse, as was customized in those days, and rode off to the home of the monster. When he arrived and they alighted from his horse, the doors of your house opened, and what do you believe they saw there? Nothing? There they saw a table spread out with all manner of lovely glasses and plates and dishes and paper, with plenty to consume upon it. So, they waited, and they waited, thinking that the owner of your house would appear, till at last the merchant said, "Let's take a seat and see what takes place then." When they took a seat, undetectable hands passed them things to consume and to drink, and they consumed and ate to their heart's content. And when they fell from the table it occurred to and disappeared through the door as if invisible servants were carrying it. Suddenly the beast filled the doorway. "Is this your youngest daughter?" He grew. And when he had stated that it was, the beast said, "Is she ready to stay here with me?" Then he looked at Beauty, who said, in a trembling voice, "Yes, sir." "Well, no harm shall befall you." With that he led the merchant down to his horse and stated to him, "Honest guy, go your ways tomorrow early morning, but never ever believe in coming here again." Then the beast went back to Beauty and stated to her, "This home with all that is therein is yours. If you desire anything, clap your hands and say the word and it will be given to you." And with that he made a sort of bow and went away. So, Beauty survived on in the home of the beast and was waited on by invisible servants and had whatever she liked to eat and to consume. However, she soon got tired of the solitude. Next day, when the beast came to her, though he looked so frightening, she had been so well dealt with that she had lost a good deal of her horror of him. So, they spoke together about the garden and your home and her father's organization and all manner of things, so that Beauty lost altogether her worry of the beast. "Beauty," said the beast, "if my presence is troublesome, I will end our discussion and leave you. For inform me, do you not think me awful?" "It is true," stated Beauty, "for I cannot inform a lie, however you are excellent natured. Among humanity," states Beauty, "there are lots of that deserve that name more than you, and I choose you, just as you are, to those, who, under a human form, hide a treacherous, corrupt, and ungrateful heart." Appeal consumed a hearty supper and had nearly dominated her fear of the monster, but she fainted when he said to her, "Beauty, will you be my better half?" It was a long time before she dared to answer, for she feared making him angry if she refused. At last, however, she started shivering. "No, beast!" Right away the poor beast sighed and then hissed so frightfully that the whole palace echoed. But Beauty quickly recovered from her shock, for Beast stated in a mournful voice, "Then farewell, Beauty," and left the space. Appeal invested the next 3 months extremely contentedly in the palace. Seeing the beast frequently had so accustomed her to his defect, that, far from fearing the time of his check-out, she would often search her watch to see when it would be 9, for the beast never missed coming at that hour. There was only one thing that made Beauty any issue, which was that every night, prior to she went to sleep, the monster always asked her if she would be his other half. One day she said to him, "Beast, you make me very uneasy, I wish I might grant marry you, but I am too sincere to make you believe that will ever happen. I shall constantly respect you as a pal, please attempt to be satisfied with this." "I expect I must," stated the beast, "for, alas! I understand too well my own bad luck. Though I ought to believe myself delighted that you would stay here, guarantee never to leave me." Appeal blushed at these words. "I could," addressed she, "certainly, promise never to leave you, but I have so great a desire to see my daddy that I'm afraid I shall stress to death if you decline me that fulfillment." "Perhaps this will help," said the beast. He handed her a delft with looking glass, and in the round mirror was the image of Beauty's daddy, pining himself sick for the loss of her. "Oh," she cried, and all the color hurried from her face. "I would rather die myself," stated the monster, "than offer you the least agitation. I will send you to your daddy. You might stay with him for 1 week, but if you do not return prior to the end of the week, poor beast will pass away with grief. I give you my guarantee," stated Beauty, "to return in a week." "You shall be there tomorrow morning," stated the beast. "Take this magic looking glass with you, and this ring. You require only to lay your ring on the mirror prior to you go to bed when you have a mind to return. Farewell, Beauty." When Beauty waked the next early morning, she discovered herself at her dad's home. She quickly came and dressed to the kitchen, where her father gave a loud scream and thought he would pass away with joy to see his dear child once again. He held her quickly and secured his arms for over a quarter of an hour. As quickly as the first transports were over, the father shared with Beauty the bright side, both her sisters were married. Appeal sent out for her sisters, who sped up thither with their husbands. The eldest had wed a gentleman, incredibly good-looking indeed, but so keen on his own individuality, that he was full of nothing but his own dear self and disregarded his wife. The second had wed a man of wit, but he just made usage of it to afflict and torture everyone, and his wife most of all. Beauty sickened with envy, when they saw her dressed like a princess, and more lovely than ever, nor might all her obliging caring habits suppress their jealousy, which was ready to break when she informed them how delighted she was. They went down into the garden to vent it in tears, and said one to the other, "In what way is this little animal much better than us, that she should be so much better?" "Sister," said the earliest, "an idea strikes my mind. She informed us of the pledge to stay only for 1 week. Let us attempt to keep her beyond the week. Possibly the beast will be so furious for breaking her word that he will devour her." "Right, sir," answered the other. They went back to the home and behaved so passionately to therein that bad Beauty wept for pleasure. When the week expired, they wept and tore their hair, and seemed so sorry to part with her that she guaranteed to stay a week longer. In the meantime, Beauty might not help feeling anxious that she was causing discomfort for Bad Beast, whom she regards enjoyed, and truly longed to see once again. The 10th night she invested at her dad's, she dreamed of the Beast in the palace garden, suffering, even dying, for solitude for her. Appeal was startled from her sleep, sat up directly in bed, and burst into tears. "Am I not very wicked," said she, "to act so unkindly to Beast, who has tried so tough to please me in whatever way? Is it his fault if he is so ugly? He is kind and good, and that is sufficient. Why did I decline to redeem him? I would be better with the monster than my sis is with their husbands. It is neither wit, nor a great face, in a spouse, who makes a lady pleased, however virtue, sweetness of mood, and thoughtfulness, and the Beast has all these valuable qualifications." Having said this, Beauty increased, put her ring in the mirror, and then lay down again. Scarce was she in bed before she fell asleep, and when she woke up the next morning, she was overjoyed to find herself in the Beast's palace. She placed on one of her richest fits and waited for the night with the utmost impatience. At last, the wished-for hour came, the clock struck 9, yet no Beast appeared. Beauty then feared she had been the reason for his death. She ran weeping and wringing her hands everything about the palace, like one in anguish. After having sought for him all over, she remembered her dream and flew to the garden, where she had dreamed, she saw him. There she found poor Beast stretched out, senseless, and, as she imagined, dead. She tossed herself upon him and finding his heart beating still, she brought some water from the canal and poured it on his head. The monster opened his eyes and stated to Beauty, "You forgot your pledge, and I was so afflicted for having actually lost you that I solved to starve myself. However, considering that I have the happiness of seeing you as soon as more, I pass away pleased." "No, dear Beast," said Beauty, "you must not die. Live to be my spouse. From this minute I provide you my hand and testify be none however yours. Unfortunately, I thought I had just a relationship for you, however the grief I now feel persuades me that I cannot live without you." No earlier had she said this than the hide of the Beast split in two and out came a most handsome young prince. The prince informed her that he had been captivated by a magician and might not recover his natural type until a maiden would, of her own free choice, state that she liked him. Thereupon the prince sent for the merchant and his children, and he was married to Beauty, and they all lived happily ever after.